This is the Auburn Podcast, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, brought to you by Auburn Undercover, the Auburn 247 site, as well as ESPN 1067. Zac Blackerby here with you. And for the second day in a row, I am joined by the GOAT, Painter Sharpless of ESPN 1067. Hey, bud.
How are you, Zach?
Good, man. Yeah, we're ready for Saturday. You and I going to carpool up there on Saturday, just going up, hanging out for the game and coming back.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
I'm itching, for real. I can't wait.
Yeah, I love that stadium. I absolutely love it.
I've been to the Georgia Dome many a time, but I've not gotten to go to the Mercedes Dome, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that'll be fun, and we're getting a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I'm starting to hear some stuff about how tickets aren't selling as well as they thought it would.
Yeah, the way the two teams come into the game, I would have figured that Auburn fans, especially because of its relative ease to get there, would be all over it.
Are Auburn fans tired of going to Atlanta?
It's probably a theory that's been out there. I would assume if they're not swallowing up all of those tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I think to most places there's an appeal to Atlanta, but I think with Auburn fans being just an hour and a half away, I think it loses a little bit of it.
Yeah, I do kind of feel as if some fans might view it as a been there, done that, although the last two didn't go very well.
Do you think that plays into it? Do you think that's why Auburn fans aren't as hype about going to Atlanta? Because I've talked to several people and, asking, hey, are you going to the opener? And some of them say, yeah, I'm going. And others say, no, I'd rather watch it on TV. Even the folks that are going aren't that excited about it. I got several friends in Georgia that are a little more open to the idea. But it is kind of interesting to me that there's excitement for the fact that it's the season opener, but all that goes with it, as Malzahn would say.
That's the new like filler, right?
Right. Well, he's a guy and all that goes with it. Can he combine the two?
That is a lot of Malzahn.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that this is a top 10 matchup and the game in college football
of the opening weekend.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it's this and then it's LSU Miami.
Yeah, and I'm interested in that matchup in part because I want to see how bad LSU might be. Now, they could surprise me and be better than I'm expecting, but they don't have really, at a lot of positions, they're unproven, particularly running back, which is something they've leaned on. And how does Joe Burrow fit in, assuming that, he is the starter and that he plays well so that to me is fascinating, but I'm not sure how good LSU will be this year.
I think it benefits Auburn if Miami wins that because LSU could kind of lose themselves quick.
Imagine if they start 1-2 after 3 weeks. They come to Jordan-Hare Stadium, and I think that ramps things up for Ed Orgeron, does it not?
Who's the other loss that you're assuming? Is it Clemson? Is that right?
If LSU lost?
Yeah.
To Miami?
And then who else?
To Auburn.
Okay.
Because that's week 3. They should win their week 2. They've got both Auburn and LSU have a cupcake in week 2.
Yeah, they play another top team. It's obviously not Clemson because they play Miami. I'm thinking A&M plays Clemson. Mm-hmm. But yeah, LSU's schedule is not
brutal.
And talking with Keith Niebuhr and other recruiting folks, all these recruits that Auburn is competing with LSU over, there's a chance that LSU just kind of falls apart. Maybe they lose Ed Orgeron, and then it kind of opens everything back up.
Yeah, they've got, it looks like Southeastern Louisiana for their second game, and then Louisiana Tech after the Auburn game. So at worst, they should be 2-2 through the first month, and then they host Ole Miss, and that will be fun because, like you say, at what level are they going to be in their focus and their mentality? And then after that, you've got Florida, Georgia, Mississippi State, Alabama.
Yeah, because with this college football world now, this playoff or bust mindset, it's like if you're a top third team or top third program in the country, it's like, all right, if you lose 2 games, it's over. I mean, think about the Auburn fans after the LSU game.
Mm-hmm. They wrote off 2017.
I mean, even covering the team, I remember the podcast, that Monday was okay. all right, what does life after Malzahn look like?
Yeah.
And obviously Auburn was in a very unique situation, and we kind of knew it at the time where it's like, all right, if they do win out, they in theory have a shot to make it. And then they were literally a game away. They go into the SEC championship as the number 2 team in the country. But you can't assume that'll ever happen again. Like, I'm sure it'll eventually happen again. But if you had to guess, does a 2-loss team have a chance to make it into the playoff this year? You'd probably say no.
Especially if that second loss comes at or before the midpoint of the season, which is about the time, about the middle of the season in October when Auburn got their second loss. It's like, wow, they're going to have to run the table against some great teams in order to put themselves in a position.
Yeah, and Auburn's schedule, at least for the foreseeable future, the way it's backloaded is always going to kind of help them.
As far as sneaking in if they do have 2 losses?
Right. Let's say they lose to Washington, and then let's say they lose one to either A&M or Mississippi State. Yeah. If they win out after that, they still could totally be in conversation.
You're right. I think the hard part there is it's weird to think about, and although it can certainly happen, it's weird to think about years in which you would lose to Mississippi State and then turn around and be able to beat 2 top 10 ranked Georgia and Alabama teams. But
I mean, it happened last year.
Exactly.
Because that LSU team was not good.
It is doable, yes.
Right. Do you see our guy got suspended?
Nicky Fitz?
Yep.
Yeah, I must have had a good Friday back there in the spring.
I guess so.
They kept that under wraps pretty well.
What can you do in Starkville?
I guess there's good food. The beat reporters keep saying that there's good food.
I went there once and I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
I went my sophomore year of school. That was Auburn's 3-9 season.
Okay.
A lot of sloppy play.
I went the time after that.
Well, that one wasn't great either. Auburn lost at least those teams were highly ranked in that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think that is Starkville the greatest place in the Southeast? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Is it the worst?
Some people might say that.
I think it is.
You won't hear that come out of my mouth, but some people might say it.
Whatever. Leah's cousin went there for her undergrad.
Yeah.
She's at vet school at Auburn now, but
I've never been to Columbia, Missouri, to be fair, and I also haven't been to Columbia, South Carolina.
I'm shocked how many Auburn fans went to Columbia, Missouri last year.
Well, when do they play again? Like, I don't actually remember off the top of my head, but is it going to be a while because of the way that schedule rotates?
It's a team in the East, so like 2030. I don't know.
That's my thing.
Which is still ridiculous.
I need them to change that at the SEC offices. I would like Auburn to play Florida more often.
Yeah, that's really the only rivalry from an Auburn standpoint I'd like to see. Some people say Auburn, Tennessee, and maybe the fact that we get that this year is kind of making me, want it less because I know I've got it for this season. But that's just not one that really piques my interest a whole lot.
I have to think also, Zach, that them being so irrelevant for the better part of now a little more than a decade is not helping your perception. I know Florida has been up and down, but they have managed to have success.
I mean, they've gone to 2 conference championships in recent memory.
Right, and Will Muschamp took them to a BCS bowl game where they were throttled by Louisville.
Yeah.
But they've been in contention, whereas Tennessee, I guess we don't have to go down that path. But I'm with you. If they were going to have one crossover that they don't have consistently right now, I'd like that Florida matchup to come back.
The fact that this is game week is almost like a tease because it's like, okay, cool. I only have to talk about this game 5 more episodes. But, man, we've milked it.
Right. It was fun back at the beginning of August because there were new things emerging, new storylines, and it's like, all right, we're getting close. And now, although we're getting even closer, we're still sort of waiting for answers because we're not going to know really until these guys take the field.
Right. I was driving into work yesterday on Monday, and I was like, okay, cool. I can approach this like a normal game week. And then I start recording yesterday with you, and I'm like, no, I can't. Because we've already had all these conversations that we'll have had, the 5 days prior to each game moving forward.
I wonder what the talking point is going to be, or if there will be one next week when it's like, oh, we should have been paying way more attention to that or that person.
What do you think that'll be? If you had to guess, what do you think that'll be? Oh, wow, we didn't talk about that.
I'm assuming the safest bet is that some player who we have ignored most of this offseason is either a bigger factor or has developed farther along than we may have realized.
The Ryan Davis of this year?
Perhaps so.
But my thing is just, who is that? Because guys that are at a position where it would be really obvious and noticeable, they're all returning guys. You know, I don't think Schwartz or really any of the receivers will do that. I just don't think they'll have a whole lot of opportunities to. The only one I can think is running back, but man, we've driven that to the ground.
Sure.
You know, and like, it's not going to be Asa Martin.
Also, as far as the running backs go, like, who's going to be surprised if the running backs have another solid year? I'm not saying it's going to be all world, but I'm not going to be surprised if those two guys do end up being the primary backs all season if they have good years, because the backs have consistently had good years under Tim Horton and Gus Malzahn.
But man, even if it was Asa Martin that was the breakout guy, I'm not surprised about it.
You've heard it all offseason.
Yeah, the guy was a freak in high school, wherever he played.
Yeah, he came in being able to do some things like pass blocking that freshmen sometimes can't.
Right.
We know he's tough with the ball, or at least have heard that. I guess it's not fair to say we know it. Yeah, I'm with you. Well, then, if that's the case, what could it be otherwise? Is it going to be, I mean, usually there's something that creeps up and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we probably could have focused on that.
I mean, is there a rotation defensive lineman that is the Nick Coe of this year? Kind of who we saw last year?
Yeah, maybe. But then again, I think it goes back to, we've talked pretty deep into the, whether it's Big Cat or TD or.
But I'm talking a little bit deeper, though. Like,
could it be Newkirk?
Yeah, like Daquan Newkirk or maybe Connis Miller. Maybe they're just freaks. But still, it's just, what would they have to do for us to have that conversation of, oh, wow, we didn't talk about that? And, like, I don't see either of them getting, 3 tackles for loss or a couple of sacks or, forcing several fumbles or anything like that. Do you?
No.
I don't either.
If I was going to, now again, I guess what we're talking about is being surprised here, but if I was going to pick someone on the defensive line to break out, or not break out, but to have a stellar game at least, it would probably be the core of guys who've played the most and will be on the field the most.
Right. Or like if Noah Igbenogany or another defensive back, gets 2 interceptions or something. But we've still talked a lot about that. Like if Smoke Monday or Jeremiah Denson or Javaris Davis or Noah Igbenogany, whoever.
Could it be Daniel Thomas if he had a game like he did in the Iron Bowl where he had 2 interceptions? Or is that just, because again, he's played some snaps, but he's certainly not what I would consider a star on this defense. Mm-hmm. But even then,
he would surprise me more than anyone else that I just named.
That's fair.
Do you think he listens to this podcast? Because if so, he hates me. Because I am so low on him.
Yeah. Why is that?
Why?
Yeah.
What does he do well? That's what I always ask myself when I evaluate players is, what do they do well? Mm-hmm. And really, every other defensive back has more things in that column, if you're doing pros and cons, than him. It's like, what does he do well? I think he's good at stopping the run, but so is Jeremiah Denson. So is Javaris Davis. It seems like Smoke Monday will be good at that. It's just Jamel Dean's really good at it. Mm-hmm. So
I get your drift.
I think that's kind of it. It's just like, all right. But props for the fact that he was essentially the last member of his signing class,
right?
And he has a chance to start. I'd be shocked if he didn't start. Mm-hmm. Later today, we will get the official depth chart from the coaching staff that Malzahn has to put out, and I'm sure he's super excited to give that out.
Gustavo.
Yeah. We record all these podcasts like the day before for the most part. So I just I guess the best way to do that is just to stay away from the press conference. Just don't talk about it.
Sure.
Maybe on the Wednesday pod if something interesting happens.
At this point, I feel like we know what the lineup will look like, or we can guess pretty close. We could be wrong about a thing or two, but like, for instance,
do you think he lists the starting buck? Because I don't think he does. I bet we get
an either or type deal.
I bet we get 2 ors.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
I bet we get Tadarian Moultrie or Big Cat or Nick Coe.
And what about like running back? Do you think they'll put Cam as the primary, or do you think they'll do the or? Even though
I think they'll start Cam.
Okay, because Tim Horton, even back in the spring, said he'd be the guy if we played today who would be out there first.
Right.
So I wondered if you thought they would put an or there.
No, I think Cam's their guy. I don't think they've really hidden from that.
That's fair. That's fair.
What about second corner? Got
Yeah.
Jamel, but it's like, do they put Javaris at that and at nickel?
I'm not sure how they'll come up because we heard Kevin Steele as recently as last week talk about the situation being important as to who's going to be on what side and then who plays star.
Right. Yeah. I liked his explanation of, all right, they play left and right, not boundary and field and all that, which is interesting. I'd like for him to explain why they do that, because most places do boundary and field.
Are you getting the sense that he's truly confident about his I call them inexperienced, but it's not their fault. I mean, they're freshmen. They came in early and they've given him, I think, what he hoped for, which was support of his starters.
I mean, how much more experience do you want, though? I mean, Jeremiah Denson is a veteran. Jamel Dean had a solid year a year ago. Daniel Thomas has been around. I know we just dissed him a second ago. So I just think when you look at all these guys, obviously you wish you had more starters. And, I mean, Noah Monogany, I guess you could say he's inexperienced because he didn't play the position before. But I don't know. I don't think it was ever as bad as people made it out to be.
Yeah. I think he's also been pleased with some of his young guys. I think he's legitimately – maybe part of it is that the situation was simply not as dire as it was painted to be. But also it seems like he's confident in those freshmen. We'll find out when they play against Washington.
And their jobs are going to be easier than if they were playing on an Auburn team 5 years ago.
Some of the deficiencies, if they have any, can be masked by the depth and the skill I think you have in your front seven, yeah.
And it's going to be a while until they play a quarterback that's going to be able to pick you apart. I know Browning is like statistically accurate, but I'm just not buying it.
Who is the guy who's going to challenge the most? It's not going to be Nick Fitzgerald. It's not. I mean,
Te'amo.
That's who I'm thinking. Is exactly.
I mean, as far as like earlier in the season.
Yeah. Let's roll through the list real quick.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, because I mean, I don't think it's week 1. I don't think it's this Saturday. And then I can't tell you who's the quarterback for State.
So it's likely, it's Joe Burrow at LSU.
Okay.
Which is just unknown. I mean, he was Mr. Ohio when he was a senior in high school, for whatever that's worth. And we did see a third stringer win a national title for them, but I guess let's just wait and see on Joe Burrow. Also, he doesn't have a lot of support. So I'm not I'm not counting on him to dice up Auburn. Arkansas, don't think that's going to happen.
No.
You and I are low on Nick Fitzgerald's passing ability. I know they returned 17 starters, and this could be a team that could beat Auburn, but I think it's important to note, as we've talked about, that they're returning 17 starters who all got thumped by Auburn last year and the year before.
Right.
Not going to happen at Tennessee. So, yeah, I think Jordan Ta'amu is the first likely candidate from where I stand on October 20th. It'll be fun to see.
But even then, though, like Auburn's going to be able to score at will. Like that defense is still going to be awful.
Agreed. And, they'll have A.J. Brown and probably some other receivers who are able to support A.J. Brown.
I can't wait to watch A.J. Brown and Jamel Dean just beat the crap out of each other.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a good matchup for Auburn, So, anyway, I think that'll be – and then the Texas A&M one's fascinating because how good is their quarterback situation going to be by November? Is it going to – will that guy have improved drastically under Jimbo Fisher?
Whoever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we can expect good things from Jake Fromm and likely Tua Tagovailoa come the end of the season.
Sure. So –
But
that gives you time. I mean, at that point, none of them are freshmen anymore from a coaching standpoint,
But that also means that you're really, at least based on what we're projecting – not until the middle or really the third week of October are you getting challenged by a quarterback who can really, I think, sling the ball, unless Nick Fitzgerald has moved forward a lot more than we are expecting.
Yeah, no, we're in agreement there. I can't wait till Saturday.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to hanging with you.
Yeah, I'm just ready for something new.
Yeah,
ready for something new.
Need it.
Thanks for coming on 2 days in a row. Plug away.
Yeah, man. ESPN 1067. Check that out. Got your local Auburn midday show. And, of course, we've got all kinds of things going on because it is game day week. So look out for ESPN 1067. Check out ESPNAU.com or the ESPN 1067 app. That way you can take the programming with you wherever you go. And you can check me out on Twitter at Painter Sharpless. Zach, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, bud. And for what it's worth, the Auburn Podcast is now on YouTube. If that fits your fancy. And, of course, it's available every day at auburnundercover.com, as well as iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Please check out auburnpodcast.com and become a patron and help support the podcast. I would greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. All right, that's another edition of the Auburn Podcast. See you tomorrow.